In this video, we're going to go over some spreadsheet and some calculator tips that will hopefully help you prepare your assignments for this finance class. Let's start with some calculator tips. For this class, you will require a calculator that has an exponent function. The exponent key is the one with an x and a little y superscript beside it. Unfortunately, most budget calculators do not have this functionality, but luckily for you, most smartphone and tablet calculator apps do. So if you take your smartphone, open up the calculator app, and then turn the smartphone sideways into landscape mode, you will expose additional functionality, including the exponent key. Next, let's look at some spreadsheet tips. To illustrate some spreadsheet tips, I'm showing you a simple capital budgeting problem. In this case, I'm using numbers on a Macintosh, but any of these tips will be equally as relevant using Microsoft Excel or the spreadsheet in Google Docs. My tip number one is to get your spreadsheet organized. If you notice up here at the top, I've already entered in some relevant data for my analysis. My tip number two is to show you how you can drag cells to copy them. I want to put in this row here in my heading, I want to put the years 0 to 4. So if I type 0 in the first cell and 1 in the second cell, select both of those cells and then grab the handle in the bottom right hand corner. You see it turns into the black crosshairs. If I use that and then drag across, it will populate the cells to which I'm dragging with my list of numbers. What the spreadsheet is doing here is it's recognizing that in the first cell I have 0 and then I'm adding on 1 in the second cell. And it's saying, oh, I guess you want to add on in groups of increments of 1 across a list. So as I drag it across, it populates the list. I could do the same thing if I started with 0 and then went to 2 and did the same thing, get my little crosshairs, drag across. Now it's saying, oh, you want to go up in increments of 2. Tip number 3 is about using cell references. And the way to reference a cell is to type equals into the cell that you are working with. So I type the equals and then I click the cell that I want to reference. In this case, the cell is C2. Then just click enter and that cell reference will be made. In my year 1, my cash flow is going to be $10,000. Again, I've already made that cell reference. So if I type the equal sign, click C3, and then enter, it will make that reference. Now in this case, what I want to show is a $20,000 investment in year 0, $10,000 in year 1, and then a 10% increase in the subsequent years. So what I can do in this case is I can use a formula. So I can type equals, and instead of just clicking a cell reference, now I can type a formula. I want this formula to be the year before, so I click the year before, in this case C7, multiplied, which in a spreadsheet program, the symbol for multiply is the star, which is Shift 8. 1 plus my increase, close the brackets, and plus return. So what this has done now is it's saying I'm taking the value of the year before and then I'm multiplying it times 1 plus 10%. Now, this is a perfect lead-in to tip number 4. Use absolute cell references. First cell reference, $10,000. I want to keep that as a relative cell reference. So I always want it to be looking at the year behind as I copy and paste my formulas forward. But I always want it to go back to the 10%, which is C4. So if I go back to my formula, if I hover over the C4 box in my formula and go to the drop down menu, I want to click $C, $4, which is absolute row and absolute column. The number signs mean I'm going for absolute values. So if I choose that one and then click it, now I can go back to using my drag function, get my crosshairs again, drag that formula across, and as you see, in this case, it'll always go D7 the year before, the cash flow from the year before, plus always comes back to C4. So it won't make that relative cell reference again. Tip number 5 is beware of your parentheses. I'm going to illustrate this tip by calculating the present value of the cash flows in my example. In order to do this, I'm going to use this formula, which you will learn about later on in the time value of money. In order to type this formula in my formula bar in the spreadsheet, start with equals, and I click C, which is the cash flow, divided by, which is the backslash, and then open my brackets for 1 plus the cost of capital. I want to make that an absolute reference. And here I have to make really sure that I close my brackets. Demonstrate an exponent by clicking Shift 6 and then click T, which is my time period, and then enter. And there it will calculate my formula for me. I just need to make really sure that when I open a bracket, I close it after. Now I can go ahead and drag my formula across. I only have to type it in once, and I can calculate it for every year. My last tip is showing you how to use certain functions in the spreadsheet program. In this case, I'm going to show you how to use the sum function. The net present value is the addition of all of the present value of all of my cash flows. And I could go across, and if you click them in numbers, it just adds them all up. I could click it that way. The other way that I can do is to type equals sum, open the brackets, drag it across, close the brackets, and it gives a range of cells in this case. So it's saying I want to add up, summing B8 to F8, and then click enter. It'll give me the same idea. So you can either use the click and the add symbols, or you can use the sum function.